Welcome to Healthy and Wealthy Conversations, where we discuss everything that leads to health and wellness for your whole spirit, soul, mind, and body. You are watching another episode of Healthy and Wealthy Conversations. I'm your host, Casey Bell, and today's guest is Shawn Singleton II. Let's get the show started. Thank you for coming on the show, Healthy and Wealthy Conversations. So you are a certified personal trainer and a cognitive behavioral life and business coach. How did you get into these fields?
Yeah, it's just I think over time you just practice and ultimately you go and study for the certifications as far as personal training. And then really it's just different ways I wanted to reach my target audience. I knew that youth like to work out and I was always working out. So I was like, well, I might as well be certified enough to talk about, the body and really it was just a matter of validation, people speaking to you with credentials who know what they're talking about rather than just good intentions, just add a little bit better spin on your your proposals to parents and leaders.
So would you say you were raised as a child in your lifestyle? Was this something you did growing up, or would you say this is something that you got into later on in life?
Yeah, it's definitely something I did growing up. I think I was always an athlete, so taking care of my body and performing at a high level was always something I wanted to do. And obviously the physical aspect with the training and the personal training was the aspect, and the other, cognitive behavioral thinking. It's all the mindset. I was like, okay, the mindset is what's really driving all of this. And then I realized that I did it a little bit better than people around me. Not just like I was the best, but I was just the best version of myself, and it made me be better. And so I was like, I want to get other people to think like this too. So I started training and studying that aspect of that underneath layer of how the brain functions and how it works and why some people are successful and others struggle, and why, how to really create consistency really starts in the mind. And that's kind of where they kind of blended together and led to what I have now.
So your cognitive behavioral, that would be teaching people how to, I guess, think differently. What would be a suggestion or some tips you would give people? Because when you talk about exercising, many people, the first thing they do is they have this negative mindset of, ugh. And how do you help people get that mindset, that negative mindset, so that they can think differently about exercise?
Yeah, I think it just starts with environment. How do you view your surroundings, and what are you kind of putting into your eyes and ears? What are you listening to? What are you hearing? Because that really is going to drive and determine everything else for the rest of the day. If you wake up and pick up your phone, if you wake up and take 5 minutes of silence, if you just try it now, you're like, holy cow. I'm really getting a lot of information that I really haven't, that's really clouding the way that I think about myself and how you feel about your day. Because really, I think the worst things that happen to us happen outside of the house, not inside. So it's how we prepare ourselves and how we think about how we're going to approach the day is really what's going to determine the outcome for really the next few months, honestly, because something could happen during the day that is permanent or longer lasting, or it could be something short term that could be turned around, through some time, some healing and some counseling and things like that. But you want to start it off with the best possible situation or the best possible way for you to continue to move forward and do better, whether it's just in life or whatever you got to do that day. And it just really starts with your environment. So you got to learn what's in your environment that's negative and really remove it from your life, or try to deal with it. A lot of it is trauma internally that we deal with, and we don't really know how to compartmentalize it, is what I found. It's just a lot of things that happened to us in the past. It's like, dang, I thought I was over the fact that my mom yelled at me for not picking up my plane. It's like, no, it created a habit of you no longer liking people telling you what to do. They're like, what? And all they do is not pick up my clothes. Like, yeah, but you practiced that for so many years. You're an adult, and now you want it to be alone. And so now when someone tells you got to clean up your room, you're like, no, you're not my mom. You don't tell me what to do. So you get into this kind of inward battle with yourself where you're not fighting something has nothing to do with what's in front of you. But it's, your environment has to, is going to bring those things out of you. And if you have to learn what those triggers are and ultimately how to work through that and get the professional help that you need to work through so you can do the things you want to do.
I never thought of it that way. As far as, the way our I know I took a webinar session, and she taught us that the brain doesn't know right from wrong, that the brain only knows what you tell it. And I
Yep.
guess when you however you were raised as a child, whatever you didn't like, you automatically create in your thinking something that when you move out, it conditions the way you live and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because that's not something I ever considered in when you talk about getting healthy. So as a trainer, what is some of the things, or just say top 3 tips you would give someone who generally can say they've never really worked out for real? How can they get started without feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we have is the imagery of what beauty is and what really in shape is. And like a lot of that comes from just the constant what you're consuming. If you keep going on social media and really if you're not the type of person that can handle looking at someone else's life and saying you don't care, avoid social media for a while because you have to really like it's all it is just information. Like even I hate posting on it because some people look to me and they're like, oh, you're a speaker, you're a trainer, and I'm like, no, I don't focus on that because you have no idea the things that I'm going through inwardly every day to keep doing things better and fight off the things that I want to do that aren't really healthy, like the way you want to eat, the way you want to speak sometimes to certain people because you are frustrated. It's a very high, stimulating world and you're just, everyone's always agitated because everything's always being thrown at you or something's going away or something's coming back. And so you take that same mindset into working out and fitness and you're like, oh, I want to lose weight. It's like, no, you don't. Like, no, that's not what you want to do. You want to feel better about yourself. And, if you don't feel better about yourself inwardly, you'll never lose the weight that you're going to lose or let alone keep it off because once you get there, you'll think that something miraculously is going to happen. And it's not. No one cares that you lost 100 pounds. They might be impressed that you lost 100 pounds, but in reality, no one cares. They were like, oh, cool. You're just going to set a tone for someone else. Say, oh, I want to be like them. It's like, no, don't. You don't know what I did to get this 100-pound weight loss. And that's it's just this cycle that keeps going and going and going. And most people don't get over the first hurdle, which is when they don't stop seeing results because it's easy to start. It's just hard to really start to see results because you have to keep doing it. And that's where the consistency problems come in because all the other stuff that I was talking about, with you growing up and all those things in your mind, you're like, man, the second something happens and it gets hard, you got to do something else. Or the person you thought was going to be impressed doesn't really care. It does something to you. And so you just want to make sure that when you're getting into training, the first thing you want to do is be comfortable with where you are and understand, what is healthy for you. Like healthy for you can be different for someone else. And don't try to look like someone else just because you think they're going to get, because they won't. Whatever you think is going to happen at the end, you likely not, unless it's some self-rewarding thing of like a vacation or, you're going to do something, fit in a bathing suit you didn't fit in high school, like, some crazy goal like that, great. But otherwise, just it has to be an internal thing that you want for you. Don't care what anyone else is. Don't even post your results. Just take pictures for yourself. Put them in your mirror. You be proud of what you're doing because the odds are you're not going to get the response you really think you're going to get from other people. And that's okay because they have things going on too. And it's not their job to validate us. We have to just be comfortable knowing that we're healthy. We like our own bodies. And here's what we're doing to make sure that we're comfortable and we like ourselves. And that's really the best advice that I can give anybody trying to work out is to block out the noise and focus on them. Be selfish.
So Brick by Brick, Reshape Your Thinking.
Yes.
Is a book that you wrote. First, before we talk about the book, was this a dream of yours to be an author, or was this something that you realized you needed to do along with what you already do?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a speaker primarily is what I really branded myself as in the last couple years, just because of the work that I did in the book. But really, with the book itself, it created a platform for others to see kind of exactly what I'm talking about now. That process of how do you get to this consistent level in your life where you're performing and doing something you really love to do, and you're accomplishing your goals, but then life is happening too. What's the underneath factor that happens that how are you working through that? How can I create that environment in my life that is helping me get there? And so as an author, I've been writing that book for 6 years probably, and I published it last year because I thought it reached a point. It was a great pivotal moment for me to move on because I'm working on my second book now that's coming out hopefully next year. Because I take time to really give you not just my words, but really content that you can use to, like, this is a book, but I can also use this to refer back and get better. And something else happened in my life. Okay, I need to come back to the baseline that I started with. What was he saying? And that's what I talk about in my book a lot, is giving you not a lot of generalizations, but I really make you think about your own self so you can create the generalizations that work for you, because you're not going to become me. You're not going to be the next me. You're ultimately going to be the best version of yourself. And so I write the books that I do write come off that way. And all the reviews and people that I've gotten feedback have just been like, yeah, this book is amazing, because it's like, man, I hear your story, but I'm not trying to be you. Like, I'm motivated to do what you did because I want that in my life. And you gave me a roadmap to get there. It's not trying to duplicate what you did. It's just practical steps that you can do in your life to find out what those steps are for you and really how to get to the next level. So being an author was something I always wanted to do, because I realized the power of your voice and power of your words to really change someone's mindset, to help them accomplish their goals, was something that I truly wanted to do, but I wanted to do it in a way that was different, not in a way that was, like, oh, come look at me and look at what I did, or be me. It was like, no, be the best version of yourself. And I want to be a voice for you to do that, and help you get there consistently and then stay there. So you don't have to keep going back into this whole back and forth thing or hurdle of, oh, I'm good enough, or I'm not. It has nothing to do with that, right? It's just find out what the environment you need and learn how to create it so you can succeed at whatever it is you want to do.
I truly believe that is a testament in itself of, because you said you're teaching people how to be successful in what they do, and writing a book in itself is a experience of learning how to be successful in what you do.
Oh, yeah.
Because most people don't understand. There are 3 ways to publish a book, and none of them are easy. None of them are short, and none of them are cheap. So no matter which way you choose, you learn right off the back, you really need patience and time and money, and patience and patience and patience. And it really does teach you not just about books, publishing, life in itself, that it really does there's no quick way to get results in exercising. I know most people, I'm starting my resolution, and by the 3rd week, 2nd week of January, they see no results and they're like, oh, this is not working. And so publishing a book really teaches you, it really takes time to get that end result. And so in your process of publishing this book, writing and publishing and getting it edited and the whole process, what was something you learned about the process that was unknown to you in publishing a book?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, it's actually easy. I mean, because I've gone through it now. That was actually easier than I thought. It was exactly to your point. It just takes patience. It's easy to write the book. It's patience. It's the patience comes in actually getting it from when you wrote it to when it can actually be published. That is the part that's probably what a lot of people give up, because it's writing. It's really, because a book's really just words on a page. Anybody can format it. It doesn't have to be good. They don't even have to read it, right? If you pay the money, they're gonna give you exactly what you paid for, and it's gonna look exactly how you want it to look. I think the issue comes in is the in between, like the cover editing, the formatting, the typing, the form, like the title pages, the spine design, because it gets really picky, and that's where it gets like, holy, I have no idea what to do. Like the LSDs and the KDPs and the PDFs. You're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, exactly. That's where it gets kind of annoying, because I think the cover editing probably took the longest, just the back and forth with the cover designer and like what image you want to create. And then that's when I got a publicist, and I think that's how we connected. But I was like, hey, how do I do this? He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this for you. I was like, awesome. So that's when I realized, the value of paying for the right type of editors and the right person in the beginning. So that way you kind of save yourself a little bit of the headache. But, the hardest part is really just writing the book, and then the process after getting it to production. Because trying to get your words into a format that's actually sellable and marketable is also important. But that is probably the hardest part. That's more personal. That really, taught me more. I actually learned more from the experience of after I wrote it, because the writing part was easy for me as an author, as a speaker. It was easier for me to do that, because that's just kind of what I do. But I didn't expect the latter part. That was definitely a headache. I learned a lot of lessons from that. So my second book's going to go a lot more smoother. So now I know what hurdles to avoid. It's definitely patience, though. It's the patience in the process. It's not a quick process.
It is. It's well, one of the things I tell people who want to publish books, I tell them, you can do it cheap and you can do it quickly, you're just not going to get the results you want. I said, if you actually want to sell books, it's time, patience, and money is what you need. And there's no way
Yeah.
getting around that. And some believe me and they learn, and then some don't, and they still learn. At the end of the day, they learn. I learned the hard way because when I started, self-publishing was around. It just wasn't as what it is today. So I didn't really have all of the perks that are around today. Even now, the audiobook thing is starting to. I mean, audiobooks have always been around. It's just it's easier now for people to start putting their book into audio form, which I didn't have that when I was starting. And in doing so, I learned so many lessons. And I think I think every human being should publish at least one book because everyone has gone through something that could help someone else.
Yeah.
So I think everyone should at least write that one book that's challenging to write in the sense that you have to go back to your childhood and, write about stuff you thought you thought you were over with, thought you didn't want to deal with anymore, and publish that book. So
Yeah.
when someone chooses to purchase this book and they read it, what is something they can walk away with that they can use daily in their life?
Yeah, they'll walk away with a framework that I speak on, and that's honestly gotten me probably the most recognition, I would say, just globally. And I don't really harp on it because I don't really care for it. People get too caught up, and I don't really care. I'm the same person today that I was when I published the book a year ago. Probably smarter and wiser because I love my family more, love my kids more, and understand the value of or the importance, I should say, of slowing down and building consistent and sustainable success than just getting a quick buck. It's easy to fall for it. You think money solves everything, and that's not even what my book is about, but it starts from a place of you understanding that if you rush your life to the point where you accomplish your goal, you're going to look back and realize you have nothing that was sustainable in the first place. And so either everything's going to fall apart really fast or it's getting there, and you need to know what it looks like as it's getting there, because it's going to pop. As I liken it to a balloon, you blow a balloon up full of air, and we all know because we all did it as kids. So we blow that thing up till it's like right at the tip, and we're just like, all right, you got one more blow, and it's like the anticipation of is it going to pop or am I going to be able to tie it? And we just keep going until it's at that limit. And some of us don't never either deflate the balloon, and let the air back out so we can kind of calm down and come back to center and see where we are, or we try to tie it and then we drop it on like a blade of grass and it pops and now everything's ruined. Now you got to start all over anyway. And so I try to get people to avoid moments like that. And that's what you're going to get out of that book, is avoid those moments where you're so swelled up. You have no idea what's going to happen if you blow another breath of air into it, but also not to the point either where you've tied it off and you created this ginormous bubble of nothing. And as soon as you drop it, it's going to pop and now you lost everything anyway. So you're going to learn how to avoid those moments in your life and how not to create a foundation that's too big, or one that's too deep inside of the I say digging holes in the book is what I call them, to just digging down and like just keep doing stuff until eventually something happens. You're going to learn how not to do that, and then why you shouldn't do that, and then also how to build on top of from how to get to a base level and then create an environment for you, like I talked about in the beginning, that for you to succeed and for you to accomplish whatever goal you're setting out, you'll know it's the same repeatable principle, same repeatable steps that help you get there.
Cool. So me I used to work I still somewhat work in customer service.
Yeah.
One of the things I did not like about customer service was many times, because I always worked at the bottom of the pole, so to speak. So by the time you came to me, whatever I told you, that's what it was. And there was nothing that I can do if you didn't like that.
Yeah.
And so the other thing though was there were reasons why we can't do that for you, and they were legitimate reasons. The thing is, most customers don't want to hear that. And so one of the things I would wish was I could tell people, before you come to this business, these are the things you need to know to make our interaction with one another as far as employee and customer better, so that you get what you want and we're not arguing with one another, or you're not thinking it's my fault that ABC. So with that said, whatever it is, whether they're coming to you for personal training, or you said you're a business coach and you're also a life coach, what are three main things a client needs to know before they come to you? Or what do they need to be prepared with? What do they need to have prepared? Or what do they need to know in order to understand that this transaction that we're making, to make it successful, this is what you should know before you come to me?
Yeah, the first thing would be, you get what you put into it. And I know it sounds generic, but it's the truth. If you come wanting a bunch of answers, I'm not going to be your person, because I'm not going to give them to you. I don't work that way. It's too much pressure, because if I tell you one thing and it doesn't work, then that's on me. But I don't, you're only going to tell me as much as you think I need to know to solve the problem. No, we all hold stuff in the closet, but whether we're talking to someone, we don't really tell them the truth, because it's human nature. We don't, we want to reserve all the true stuff for the people who are closest to us, and that's not going to be me initially, unless I've known you for years. Then you're like, oh yeah, I'll tell you everything. But that's just know that you're going to get what you put into it. So if you give out enough information, then you'll see, okay, I don't need to tell him everything, because he's never going to give me the answer anyway. I need to tell him exactly what I'm trying to do and what I've done in the past to help you get there. And then, we'll be able to work out an agreement on, I'll give you the rest of this thing that you need, because it's not me, it's you have to make the changes. No matter how much time we spend together, if you don't want to do anything, I can't make you, and I can't force you, and I can't force anything to change if you're going to keep doing the same exact things that have created the hole that you've dug in. And then the second thing I would be is just be prepared to be challenged, because that's really where the most of the growth happens. A lot of us get used to being comfortable, and we want to be comfortable when we change too. We want to make a bunch of money, or we want to be very successful, or we want to accomplish a goal, but we don't want anything else to change. And that's not going to happen. It's just the reality. You're going to do something better than your peers, and they're like, you're going to separate yourself. Even just a microcosm, you just going to counseling is better than 95% of the world who don't like counseling, or maybe even your friends, because they haven't been to counseling, or maybe they have and they just haven't gone back, or they haven't went since their life changed, or whatever. It's just knowing that you're going to be challenged, and whatever it is that we're going to talk about, whatever it is going to advise you to do or give you those next steps. And then really the third thing is, it's I'm here for you, I guess, is the point. To just be prepared for someone who's going to be there for you. Like, I know that's going to be hard, and I'm not going to give you the answers, but you're not going to be alone. It's going to be the main, we're working together. So it's a relationship, it's a partnership. So you give me what you can, I'll give you everything that I can. So, regardless of what you give me, I'm going to give you 100% to what you tell me that, is going on, or what you want. And even if you reach a struggle, it doesn't mean that it's not working. It just means that you're being challenged more. And that's the part where you're like, crap, okay, this is getting hard. Like, okay, yeah, I know. That's what I was telling you in the beginning. You're going to get what you put into it. I knew it's going to be hard. That's why I'm here. That's why I didn't stop saying, don't stop meeting with me. Like, we probably have a couple more before you actually can get there, but really you're going to be on your own, throughout that process. I just want really the updates and knowing, how can I be of service and how can I help? Because really, we all have the greatness inside of us that we need for ourselves to get to where we want to get to. It's just helping you unlock it, not tell you, not hype you up or give you all these things of visions of like, no, it's going to suck. And you may not do anything better than you did yesterday, but you're going to think differently. And that's what's going to produce different ideas for you and change your environment and change your life. So you may not do anything different, but your mindset by doing it is just going to elevate you and push you forward. And that's what some people need.
Cool. So you are a personal trainer, cognitive behavioral life, a coach, a life coach, business coach. Do you do this virtually as well? So if someone lives in another state, another country, would they be able to hire you virtually?
Yes. Yeah, you can definitely hire me virtually. It's not a service that I offer now because I'm speaking so much now. I haven't offered even my coaching services like as much as I want. I haven't had time to set the thing up. Ever since I published the book, they're like, hey, we want you to speak on it. I'm like, gosh darn it. Okay. So, but it's definitely something I'm definitely starting back up. So yeah, definitely virtually is something you can reach me at, and I can set it up with you if you just reach out to me, and we can set something up for the schedule and the coaching packages or whatever it is you're looking for, and really letting me know if I'm able to help you. It's really the first meeting is always the baseline. It's not something I charge for. How can I help you? What is it that we're doing? So I know if I even have the skills to even help you get to where you want to get to, because if I don't, I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be honest and say, no, I can't help you here, but I got a book that might help you get a baseline, but you may have to talk to someone else. I'm not the best fit for you. But I will be honest with you. But yeah, virtual is definitely an option.
Awesome. And then last question, I probably shouldn't ask you this on the spot. Now that, because you do life coaching, business coaching, would you consider, or do you already do, I would say coaching or assistance on helping someone publish a book?
I don't. So yes and no. I have been reached out to by a couple people already, and I made them the option to say, hey, I'll help you, I'll help you learn how to get to the next step. Because like I said, writing the book is the hardest part. So if your manuscript isn't written, I have not, it's your book. I'm not going to tell you how to write it. I'm definitely not going to edit it for you. So, that's where the rubber meets the road. But I can help someone get to that next level as far as looking at publishers, looking at distributors, how to do it. Because sometimes you might do better off just doing it on Amazon KDP on your own. Otherwise, or you could look at hiring a publicist and help them do it for you, or ebook distributor, just because there's so many options now with books. And I sort of been through the process, and I'm in the middle of writing my second one, knowing the marketing plan that I have for it and how to truly market it to get it out there to sell. I can definitely help someone out get to that next level and do it. So yeah, I would be willing to, if the person really already had a manuscript and they're like, I just don't, what did you do to get your book? Like, I just need help. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm like, all right, cool. Now let's look at the options you have for your book and how you want to distribute it. What's your goal? What's your reach? Because then they'll realize, okay, I thought this was just publishing it and the people just bought it. Like, no, it's a strategy. You got to have a strategy from the moment you say publish. Like, you got to know where you're trying to go or know what you're trying to do.
Yeah, when people ask me, well, first there's people who've asked me, can you help me publish my book? I'm like, sure. I was like, let me see it. Oh, I didn't write it yet.
That's, yep.
Dude, I can't.
I can't
help
you.
Do. And then I've had people, because I tell them, I say that the hardest part of a book is selling it. And the first thing they say is, oh no, my family. And I'm like, not to break your heart. Yeah, most of them will not be supporting you. Oh no, they will. And I'm like, okay. And I have to remind people, if you I don't know, you sell, you make I'm trying to think how to say this. If you make something for women and all your family is men, they're not going to support you because, and
Yeah.
so if your family are not readers, they're not, it doesn't matter that your family, they're not going to support you because they don't read. I even remember someone I work with, she bought books for my coworkers, and one of them said, you can cite it, but I'm never going to read it because I don't read. And so for me, it was like, yeah, I wasn't offended, because at the end of the day, if your people are not readers, they're just not going to support you. So there's the marketing part of it that's may not be fun. It's still something you have to do. And so it's funny though, because you tell people this and they don't listen, and then they get into it. And every writer that I have, published author I have spoken with, have said the exact same thing. Mind you, they come from different countries, different states, different backgrounds. They all say the same thing: is the marketing is what threw them off. So with that said, is there anything else you would like to leave the listeners with?
No, let me know how I can be of help. ShawnTheSpeaker.com. We also have a podcast for youth and young adults, For the Youth podcast, that is available on Apple, iTunes, as well as Spotify. So, if there's anything I can do to help you guys, whether it's publishing books, just really understanding what it is your next vision is for your life. You want to become a speaker. I mean, I've kind of been through it all, and I don't market the jack of all trades, but the specific skill sets, as you can see, that I have on the website and the other podcast website. Let me know how I can be of service, and I'll be happy to throw my resources at it and see if I can help.
Thank you. That was actually supposed to be the last question, but I do have another question, because you just well, you reminded me when the Zoom told me to let you in. I saw For the Youth Inc. and I'm like, what's that? So what is that?
Yeah. For the Youth Inc. is the branch of my speaking business, Shawn the Speaker. I actually have the hoodie on now, that I started because I target primarily youth and young adults to help them through life transitions and life developments, because I think they're the hardest market. That's getting thrown so much information that there's not a lot of genuine people who are actually selling them positive services that are going to lead to them success long-term, or put them in the environments where they can be successful later. And so I started For the Youth Inc. With me and a co-host of mine, Bridget Hosick, who's an international pro trainer. We are developing resources and tools in conferences that are going to help youth and young adults really develop these sustainable principles, and then also create the consistent success in their life through developing positive habits and mindsets through understanding the mind, body, and the movement. So, For the Youth Inc. is something that part of Shawn the Speaker. We are just on fortheyouthpodcast.com, and you can kind of see everything about what we're doing now, what we're talking about now, and we'll have some future ebooks out there available as well, and as well as some other content that will help you guys be able to register for our webinars or conferences that we have across the country. So we're standing all that up now. So 2022 is going to be a great year for that brand of the business.
That is all the time for this episode of Healthy and Wealthy Conversations. I want to thank our guest, Shawn Singleton II, for stopping on by, and you, the audience, for watching. Thank you. Have yourself a great day.